Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the GSD Show. Normally that's Mike's line, but today I'm doing something a little different. It is our 200th episode.
It's a long time we've been doing this show.
We have been doing this show for quite a while, and yeah, I mean, it's such a wild ride it's been. I wasn't there specifically for the very first episode, but I was there for a couple in, and then just the amount of amazing people we've had on, the people who listen to our show, just hearing everybody's feedback on it, it's just been really cool over the years.
The evolution of it too, the different styles, the room,
yeah,
all
of that.
Yep.
Totally awesome. So we are doing things a little differently today. Mike has absolutely no idea what we are doing today, which is great. I love that. I love that for us. So what we are going to do is we are going to react to some of our top GSD episodes here in studio.
Today's episode of the GSD Show is brought to you by Wenning Branding and Text Request. Do you need reliable promotional products and marketing for your business? Look no further than Wenning Branding. With their wide collection of trade show and promotional products and stunning silk screening and embroidery, they'll make sure that your brand will stand out from the crowd. And whether it's storage, direct mail, or online store fulfillment, you can trust that Wenning Branding will keep the process safe, secure, and running smoothly. Here at Loud Rumor, we trust Wenning Branding to handle all of our marketing, fulfillment boxes, and more. So, what are you waiting for? Visit wenningbranding.com/loudrumor today to improve your brand. Are you looking for a business texting service that'll grow your fitness studio? Text Request is the software for you. Trusted by some of the biggest brands in the nation, Text Request provides texting services to help you schedule and book appointments, share promotions to your members, and convert leads to sales to grow your business. Schedule a demo today by going to trytextrequests.com.
This episode, our very first episode, 001, we're going to be talking
what
about
are we thinking about this?
Even the ones you talk about. I hate everything. My beard. Well,
There's no beard.
And my chin.
Look at, did you see that wink?
Yeah. Do that. Hit the double back.
We got a wink going.
My name's Mike. And I help
Oh God, my hair. Did you see? And then I feel like my chin is so naked.
Now, you were talking about getting these internet leads to close. Do you even remember what you were saying?
Getting these internet leads. Well, I know why we started the show.
So why did you start the show?
So the reason we initially started the show was because we were doing a good job of what people were hiring us to do. We were generating a lot of leads for them. Mm-hmm. And I was in the fitness industry for almost a decade prior, and so I saw similarities. We had many people that I worked with in the past that couldn't close, and they always blamed the leads, but I never had a problem with it. I always did really well with leads. Yeah. And so I gave advice to a couple of clients. I think when we started the show, we had maybe 20 gyms we were working with.
Wow.
So, and a few of them we started working with. One was Jabs Kickboxing, actually. We helped them close a lot of their leads that they were saying weren't good and they were having a hard time with. So we said we need to start a show where we not only teach people how to do a better job on what they can control, but also bring on guests that are actually doing it so that they can have more conviction around it. Now, this is the first episode, so that was actually Sarah, our former director of marketing, but episode 2 was Najla, who was one of the, I believe it was Najla, right?
Let's see here.
I'm pretty sure it was her, because I remember that was like a big thing for me. She was a really good closer, and she worked her leads really, really well. Mm-hmm. And so we got her on board, and then we just kept on bringing people on that I felt would help people become bigger believers in the things we were telling them to do.
Yeah, and since that time, we've had so many gym owners come on and share their secrets, and we've heard some really great things from them, and I know people learn a lot from them as well. So, yeah, that's super awesome to know the roots of it.
I remember, too, we thought we were so fancy because we had 2 cameras.
Oh, my God. You guys thought you were the coolest thing.
Yeah, 2. As I'm looking at 3 or 4 right now. But we had 2 cameras sitting at a conference table, and it was just going back and forth.
Did you even have any lights or?
No. No, it was just, well, I mean, the room lights, that's about it.
Humble beginnings, you know.
Humble beginnings. It felt fancy at the time.
Okay, awesome. So the next one we're going to do is the most viewed episode. Do you have a guess on which one was? This one actually surprised me when I was going through the list. I was surprised by this one, but do you have any thoughts on what would be the most highest GSD?
It was either episode 34, where I teach how to sell.
Okay.
The one with Matt Kafora, Bedros, or Cameron.
You're wrong.
Wow, which one is it?
I know. I'm telling you, it shocked me. We'll pull it up.
It's not 34, 37, or 36?
It is 30, episode 30.
30, what was 30?
Today
The Orange Theory one. Really? How many views is that?
5,583 views.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? That was like early on. That was 2016.
Because Orange Theory.
Right, the name.
Yeah, let me see the title of it. Oh, and pre-sales,
Yeah.
keyword.
Employee turnover.
Yeah.
Let's go. And this was like live in studio too.
So we went to their studio. They're local. They're maybe like a couple miles from here. And I can't remember how we got connected to them. I can't remember how. They weren't clients of ours, but they owned quite a few. And I went over to their studio, and I could tell they've never been on camera before.
Oh.
And so they were you could tell, look how stiff they were,
Yeah.
right? Good people, really nice
Yeah.
people, but you could tell they're just like, I don't know what to do. And the guy in the background had to get his work done, so he was continuing to work. And we kept filming in all these different spots. And I remember they were answering questions in very short form.
Yeah.
And I had to keep. It was a difficult interview. They were really nice people, obviously successful, but they were hard to interview.
Yeah. But I think that's what makes it so special is that we're getting people who are not like normally on camera or like, you know, that's not something they're used to. They're used to running and owning a gym and giving advice on that. And I think that's what makes it so special is we're hearing from like real life people who are doing it or in the business.
Yeah.
So
I'm willing to bet too, if I watch some of this,
your interview skills?
I bet you I wasn't as good at pulling information out of people at that time either. I probably learned a lot from it.
You've never owned a business before Orange Theory.
So, how did it kick off? What happened?
See, pause. See, that's already such a bad question because it's so broad.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying like, so how did you guys meet initially?
Yeah.
That's so different because when you say that, that's a how did we meet story. But how did it kick off? It's like, well, like when did we first start talking about business or our
Right.
relationship? Yeah. I remember around this time I read a book by Larry King called How to Interview How to Talk to Anybody Anywhere Anytime.
I just read that book. Well,
Yeah.
maybe like a year ago, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a great book.
I
Yeah.
read that one a few times because I wanted to get better at this because I felt like sometimes they weren't the only ones that were difficult to interview. There were several. And I felt like maybe there's something I can control. And so maybe I can become a better interviewer and then I can get people that aren't great at being interviewed to be actually seemingly better.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like a dinner conversation, I think was
Yeah.
mentioned in that book, like having those. Yeah, but that was definitely a shocker for me on, like, I was like, that was the top one? I thought for sure Bedros or like Cameron Harold or even Mountainside Fitness, Tom Hatton.
Tom Hatton. He was on a couple times. I
Yeah,
think.
there was a couple close ones,
Yeah.
but yeah. All right. This next one, I asked you, who is your most favorite guest? And I said, choose one. And of course,
I think I gave you like a dozen.
yeah, and I was like, that is so Mike, that is so entrepreneurial. So I picked 3.
Okay.
So these ones are Mike's favorite episodes.
Okay.
Imagine if you had a fitness studio, 5 fitness studios.
Oh, this is Mike Littrell.
Yeah.
$5 million per
I like
year
him.
in revenue.
He is so great.
Numbers. You don't have to imagine that anymore.
And you guys were standing on this one. Typically we're sitting, and I think that was like right after you broke your knee.
I did. I think I did just break my knee at that time. That's right. Yeah, so I couldn't sit because I had a straight leg brace on. And so if I sat, I'd be kicking him in the leg.
Like, yeah. I was like, that was like a difficult thing to
And he was
manage.
taller.
I know.
I'm surprised I didn't have to like stand on something.
I think we did have you stand on something.
No, I wouldn't go for it. I wouldn't allow it to happen. I'd be like, you change the camera angle. I'm not standing on anything. It's so horrible to feel that way in front of another man. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, but Mike and his team came in and they were so great. They're so on top of it.
Yeah.
And,
Ferris too. I could easily have interviewed Ferris. A couple of people on his team. His team is so good that I could have interviewed successfully a few people on his team, no problem. They would have done a great episode.
yeah. What was like the top thing you took away from this episode?
From Mike, really big on building culture with his team, developing his leaders, putting them in the position to win, challenging them in the interview process, being very clear as to what he expects out of them, and then getting out of their way.
Right. Yeah, he does do a good job of just like letting them lead.
Yeah.
So
For everyone that doesn't know, like these shows, I learn a lot. So I'm paying attention, And I think that also helps the questions be better. In the very beginning, I had a hard time paying attention to the guests because I was always thinking of my next question.
Yeah.
And then at one point I just stopped caring about it, and I said, I'm just going to take notes and learn. Even if the episode sucks, I'm going to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
And then oddly enough, I think the questions ended up being better because they were the next obvious question to ask.
Right.
Because I really wanted to know
You were
more.
listening. Yeah.
I really wanted to know more about, like, so if they would say, you know, we really think that Instagram has been very powerful for us, I may dive in and be like, well, why do you believe that? Like, what are one or two things that, like, you know it does well for you? And then if they go, well, this does well, why? Like, specifically, like, how did you do that? What was the first time you realized that? Like, what was that point? Because in my head, I'm thinking I may have to go redo this myself or learn how to reverse engineer the whole thing. And so if I can get as much data right now, it saves me a lot of time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Your next one, this one has a funny story behind it, actually. Oh, we got hit with an ad.
Those damn advertisers. Who needs them? How do these people live with themselves? Running ads on. Oh, Lipiano. This guy was a gangster.
He was a gangster, and I have to tell a funny story about this. So this is when we were on like another like week-long filming excursion, and we just done a whole bunch of filming. And you're like,
Do we want to pause the sound? Hold on.
so we were on a week-long filming, and we just got done filming a whole bunch. And you're like, okay, we're gonna chill out for the rest of the night. This next one, I'm just gonna go in and meet the guy. I'm like, okay, good. I like kind of start to relax. We meet Obiano, and oh my God, he was such a badass. And you're like, GSD episode, and I was like, no. Well, yes, but no.
I didn't see it coming because he reminded me. I mean, have you ever seen Scarface?
I have not, but I understand the.
So the main supporting character is named Manny or Manolo, and he reminded me of Manolo, but one that really understands business and jiu-jitsu. So like if Manolo was a gangster, if that guy could fight really well and run a business, it was Ubiano. But just the way he spoke, he was tough, but he was also compassionate. Like he really cared about his people and his members. He really wanted them to win. But at the same time, he wasn't going to take any shit from anybody.
Yeah.
He was very serious about what he was doing, and he was very serious about helping people that were also serious about helping in that mission, and anybody else wasn't going to make the list.
Yeah, and I think too, his employees were with him for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you like his methods are working, you know?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the tougher you play, I mean, if you think about it, who was toughest on you in your whole life? It was your mom and dad, the ones that love you the most.
Right.
So I think, you know, he shows love that way, and people feel it. But
And
he was great. He was funny too.
He was very funny.
Because he was so gangster. He didn't even mean to be funny. He was just funny because he was so tough.
Yeah, I think we filmed this in a closet, or his office.
Yeah.
I was like, we're doing it.
And I come from an immigrant family. I'm the first person born in the U.S. in my entire family.
Yeah.
And he reminded me a lot of, because he's an immigrant as well.
Yeah.
And I could sense, I was like, there's something about people that come from another country that come to the U.S. that have a hard time wrapping logic around some of our ways.
Yes, yeah.
You know, and I see that with some uncles in my family, and I see it with him, and it was really funny to watch.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right, the last top favorite of yours.
The last top favorite was the last of 12 or
Yeah,
15,
that's the last
however
that
I sent you.
I chose.
For those that didn't get picked, just so you know, you might have actually gotten picked.
You might show up in other areas.
Bedros, I just talked to him last night. We just talked to him last night. We were on the phone, yeah.
Whose parents barely made ends meet and literally had to wash his hair with gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was a story episode.
So that's another reason it was one of my favorites. So we started doing these episodes called stories. So if you actually go back, you watch. I think we did one with Bedros, we did one with Matt Cafora, we did one with Rick Mayo. And in these, I wanted to. What I learned was these guys have so many good things to say that it could turn into 2, 3, 4 hour conversation easily. But when you really take the meat of it, it's probably like 30 to 45 minutes of really good meat. The other stuff's like good conversation that was necessary to get to that meat. And so what we started doing was creating episodes where we would take the meat out and I would summarize everything else.
Yeah.
So I may say, I talked to Bedros about how he would do this, and here's what he said. And then he would have that piece. And then we would have visuals and B-roll. We had like animation.
Yeah.
I really like those episodes, but my gut tells me it was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, but I mean, purposefully, like obviously
Yeah.
it turned out amazing. But I remember you and I would sit down for literally 2 or 3 hours going through writing the script. That was actually the meme. We'll put it on screen. The meme of me looking at you, because at one point I was just like,
The Rick Mayo. That was during the Rick Mayo.
was Rick Mayo one, yeah. And I was just like so over it.
Yeah, let's show the meme of McKenna, which this should be used everywhere.
Just over Mike, I was like at that point. But no, these are purposeful, and you know, when we have a high tier guest, someone like Bedros or
Yeah.
Rick Mayo, we should do
He's another guy. He's an immigrant, and
His
he's got
story's
that-
amazing.
He's
Yeah.
got that attitude, right? And he's a hard worker, and he tolerates very little. So he's been successful as well, and he's helped other people become successful. So I had a good conversation with him last night too. You were actually in the car.
Yeah.
It was breaking up. The
Yeah,
reception
for
was
sure.
awful. So I kept, Bedros, if you're listening, I caught 80% of what you said, but I think I got the gist of everything.
It was actually kind of cool to be on the fly on the wall, because like who he was on the podcast is exactly who he is like in real life when he's just
Yeah.
having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool to be
Yeah.
fly on the wall with that. All right, the next one is the funniest moment in
The sinking chair. Is it the sinking chair?
the sinking chair.
I like to play devil's advocate because I want to vet out where they are coming from. And so it sounds like I'm attacking their position when really I'm trying to just strip it away so that I can
I've got
understand
to
it.
move my chair back real quick. Do you notice this thing's sinking? I'm gonna do one of these like stand interviews with
Oh, you do it.
Is that
I
all
look-
right?
Let me pull up the exact moment of the
So
sinking chair.
we've had a lot of funny moments. The golf, there was a lot of funny golf moments in the golf episode as well.
Look at that.
Not bad.
I think I was just like a few feet
Farther than you, closer to the hole.
Yeah.
You were off.
He says Mike has excuses for the Charles Barkley swing. That's what he says. You don't know what I just did. I'll play you, Louis. Any day.
That's very offensive to Mr. Barkley.
But this sinking
Chair
chair
one.
is the bane of my existence.
I had to pull it up to the exact moment. I timestamped it.
Can you also show B-roll of the movie with that guy, Mr. Bean, when he had the sinking chair, and like how
Yeah,
that's
we'll put
how
that
I
in.
felt.
China has been impervious to our concerns, but I believe Xi Jinping, given the opportunity, can and will help diffuse this situation.
The whole episode.
Okay, so this is.
That was with Mike from Exponential.
They are coaching.
Oh, and it was live.
It
People
was
were
live.
watching this live.
That's why we couldn't cut it
couldn't
out.
cut.
Like, oh, did you see it?
Yeah, look,
did
look, I'm smiling at you because I know.
Vet out
Yeah, because like
Were you noticing? Did you know
I
that it
didn't
was
notice
happening?
it because it was live, so I was like focused on like all the comments.
Because I could feel him getting taller.
You're just like.
And then it got more awkward because I was standing and he was sitting.
Yeah, for a while, yeah, you just.
And then at some point he's like, you know what? And he just kicked the chair back. He's like, we're going to stand together. Like, this is ridiculous.
All right, the next one we've got the producer's pick. So this was my favorite episode.
Can I guess it?
Yeah.
Was it the scientist?
No,
Hold on. Wait, is this your favorite
this
episode?
is my favorite episode. Yeah.
Favorite episode because it's funny or favorite episode because you got the most out of it?
I feel like people got the most out of it.
People got the most
Yeah,
out of it.
studio
Okay, so
owners.
it's not necessarily tight to you. It's for
No,
people.
but I always like when studio owners get good value. But it was seeing, because this was a live one. We didn't post it live, but you guys did this live. And when you did it,
Billie Jean.
No, that was a good one though. That was a good one. Play Billie Jean just for like, yeah.
We did a live?
It wasn't. It was live here at HQ, but it wasn't. It was just you and another person, and you guys were doing it for another purpose, and we were like, oh, let's take this as a GSD episode. And it was like watching. I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing they've ever done.
What?
Yeah.
Was it Matt Kafora?
It was Matt Kafora. It was when you guys did your the offline lead gen. That was my favorite.
Oh, this was a good one. I've actually shared this with a lot of people.
Yeah, it is another high viewed episode.
Yeah.
But you should if you
really want to turn your fitness studio into a 7-figure.
The funny thing is, that's where I added a good amount of muscle, and then I'm next to Matt, and I feel like I was atrophying.
Anyone next to Matt, to be honest. But in this episode, you guys just
in this episode,
you guys just like totally killed it with. I think you were doing a webinar of some sort, and we're like, everyone was watching. We were just like so, like, what's the word? You're just like so mesmerized.
Learning, yeah. There was a lot. There was a lot of good stuff in here. Matt really has his shit together, and I think the combination of my being able to ask him the questions to get what I needed out of him, and his ability to answer the questions very, accurately. He knows his stuff. That made for really good, efficient content.
Yeah,
it was
good.
Good.
He was awesome.
Everyone should watch that one.
Yeah,
that's a very good one to watch.
Yeah, and I'm glad you recommend it because that makes me proud. Okay, the last one is the most shocking GSD episode. Can you take a guess?
Most shocking? Who was shocked, me or someone else?
You and someone else.
I was shocked. There was a moment where I was shocked.
Yes, I wouldn't say like. It was, I would say shocked.
The scientist?
It was a scientist.
Okay. That was a crazy one.
That was crazy. So, backstory, Mike and I were going to interview the scientist, or Mike's interviewing the scientist, I'm in the room. And we're like, typically with science guys, it's more just, and he was very straight.
When he first walked in?
Yeah.
How long did we believe this episode was going to be before we cut it?
Yeah, Mike was like, give this like 10 minutes, if that.
We're going to be done in 10, 15.
This was honestly our longest episode.
And I could have gone for another few hours.
I'm like, Mike, we're running out of battery here.
There's a difference when you interview so here's the thing. Elon Musk is nowhere near as entertaining or energetic as, let's say, a Steve Jobs is.
Right.
But Elon Musk, everything he says is backed. Like, he understands to the decimal, like the numbers and everything. So even though he's dry in delivery, I mean, those 3-hour episodes on Joe Rogan's podcast were some of the most rewatched episodes that he's got. And with him, this guy, it was Glenn, right?
Yeah, Glenn.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode.
Yeah, Glenn knew his stuff so well that, I mean, he was referencing studies where he had like 18 people in a room locked for like days.
Yeah.
And he was referencing like all these different studies and all these different sets of research that he had done. And he was tall too. This one, I should have sat on another person.
Sit on their shoulder.
Yeah.
And I think I should have angled him
just
back
stood.
a little bit. And then probably still had like a chair.
You could tell by looking at this where his hips are versus my hips. His hips aren't in the scene. You can see my butt.
He's the lowest they could go.
Yeah, just so you know, that's a you problem, McKenna. That's an inefficiency on your end because you could see the bottom of my butt and you can't see the top of his belt buckle area.
I know, because he was the lowest on his chair and you were the highest. And I was like, even still then.
Oh, he was huge. He was like 7 feet tall, this guy. He came in. I was like, man.
It was so shocking because, he would like just state all these like studies and facts. We're just like, I was like, oh God, I still have to do my job and like make sure the cameras are good because I was so in tune with the conversation.
And things that you believed, he would immediately discredit.
Right.
He wouldn't argue with. He had no reason to argue. He had case proof. He'd say, no, that's not true. In fact, we did a study.
People who exercise well and a lot. We can get into more about what kinds might be better in some situations. Those individuals not only have fitter hearts, lungs, skeletal muscle, but also their other tissues. Their livers are healthier. Their kidneys are healthier. Their brain is healthier. And that's because exercise has an effect upon those tissues and those organs. Actually, and this may be a surprise to a lot of people, exercise actually makes your fat fitter.
What does that even mean? I gotta go rewatch that.
Yeah,
that was
a good one. Yeah, so that was all of them. It's just so crazy. Like we were mentioning, just the growth of the show, and just from the people, from you to the room to the equipment, everything has just been It's been a huge part of my life, and I'm thankful to be a part of it in some way. So yeah, I think this was awesome. And for everyone too watching, I know we've had people watch from like 2015, 2016, and it's really cool hearing them and seeing their development too as the show goes on. So thank you guys, everyone who's viewed, whether you just started, whether you were a fan from the beginning. From the bottom of our heart, we definitely thank you guys for being true fans.
100%. And the show, you know, it's going through a little bit of an evolution now because we're wondering what the office is going to look like. And we're actually, we have a whole, I already created the calendar of what the next episodes are going to look like for the remainder of the year. We've got some really good episodes coming. But we have to figure out our studio situation because right now we're going to be filming some here still until we, you know, don't have the office, but mostly out of my home. You were at my house yesterday to help me build that out. But we got to look at a new studio too because I kind of like this and I like having people come down.
Yeah, we'll chat about that later.
We'll figure that out.
I have some good things.
Love it, love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys. Should I close out or you?
I was going to close out, but you close out. Yeah.
You close it. Go. Everybody, McKenna, newcomer to close.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you in the next episode.
Bye, guys.